Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Higher Density Living. If you were here for our previous episode on the GISP Alien Abduction Risk Assessment Report, we walked you through that bullshit. So let's get into... be cautious of the data, my friends. Cautious of the data. Let's talk about tips for avoiding alien abduction. If you want to live your life in a total state of fear, the GISP has given you 4 highlight actionable things you can do to make sure you're not a part of these hotspots and getting zipped up in some extraterrestrial craft to become their play pet. So, Jason, can you walk us through numero uno?
Yes, tips for avoiding alien abduction. Number 1, this is, you're not going to look at real estate for value. You're not going to look at it for being, if you want to be next to beautiful trees, nature, if you want to be next to hiking trails, if you want great schools for your children, if you love being by the beach, you're not going to look at that. Here's what you're going to do. Number 1, you're going to buy a home in a location where UFO sightings are not prevalent.
Okay.
It's number 1.
Don't rent. Don't get a condo. No townhomes. Buy a home, but make sure it's not in a hotspot. So we want you to completely avoid...
And no trailer parks.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
No trailer parks. I want you to completely avoid 65% of the total land mass in the United States. So really what I'm seeing here is you're safe buying a house dead in the center of the Rocky Mountains where there's no signal and no hospital within 75 miles. You should be fine. Am I wrong? But remember, you got to buy it. If you rent, that's a guaranteed abduction if you're a renter.
Which goes right into number 2, which this is great. Avoid dark.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, read it, and then I want to talk about how this is so contradictory.
Avoid dark areas, such as forests, wheat fields, and remote mountain areas.
Okay. So...
aliens seem to prefer what? To kidnap from these locations. Ooh,
okay.
Good word.
If I'm looking at the hot spots, right? But they're telling me to avoid dark areas. The only stuff left outside of the abduction hotspots are forests, wheat fields, and remote mountain areas. Where am I supposed to go? Live in the middle of the ocean?
No, that we have ocean-going aliens.
You bet we do. Like
dipping in and out of the water.
Easy. No problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're pretty much screwed anywhere you live, judging by point number 2 and what the data shows on their hotspot map. So,
I like how it picks wheat fields.
who's living in a wheat field?
Kansas.
Yeah, all of Kansas. Completely avoid home ownership.
Don't worry about tornadoes.
I think.
Worry about if it's like 1 a.m. in the morning and you happen to find yourself hanging out in a wheat field.
You deserve,
and you see crops.
You deserve to be abducted.
You're fucked. You're gonna get zoomed right up. Remote mountainous areas. So this is interesting because we do know, the sighting, and we've bought their shirts from saucer.co.
Yeah, they're great stuff.
You have one, I have one, and that guy was like gone for 5 days or whatever. And his story seems, he was on Joe Rogan and I listened, and he honestly believes all that.
He was fire in the sky, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was the thing? He walked into the field which the ship was emitting, and it knocked him out. The radiation actually made his body immediately sick. It was killing him at a cellular level. And he thought they were...
they cleaned him up.
He thought he was being abducted, be like, I'm fucking screwed, like these evil aliens are coming to get me. But no, they're actually trying to help you because you walked into a huge field, which these ships have to emit to actually cause them to be anti-gravitational. I think it's the same thing that happens if a nuclear reactor starts to leak. You'll black out with too much radiation. It'll just knock you out at a cellular level. So if he gets knocked out by this field effect, sure, no problem, And for 5 days,
he'd be dead.
Remember all of the guys that were with him in the logging company? They're they all took lie detectors. They all passed it. They're all like, this is an absolute mess. It took the guy how many years? 30 years to come to terms with what actually happened, to realize that he shouldn't have been in a state of fear, that he was the one that acted improperly. Imagine trying to rationalize that over time in your mind. His whole life.
Yeah, Yeah, his whole life. Yeah, he figured it out and understood that, that there was no threat. It's just, we I mean, as a cage monkey, we would perceive it to be, something's bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
When in actuality, because didn't he like throw an alien against the wall or something because he was freaking
grabbed
out?
one of the apparatuses they had and just like beat the alien with it and tried to run around the ship.
Yeah, and they didn't even harm him. He said they never went one.
What's really funny is he said when he hit them, they were super lightweight. It's kind of cool, right?
You don't need big ape muscles if your brain is mainly everything that's going on.
Yeah, you got crazy tech.
If you're efficient with energy expenditure.
Yeah, no reason to be heavy. So
it doesn't serve anything.
Serves nothing. It's actually inefficient, right? Imagine if light photons were super heavy. They just arc down, never get to you. We'd have no light.
Well, imagine if you're moving items and you're doing everything through thought. Yeah. Why do you need big muscles?
You don't. You'd want everything to be as light as possible, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Number 3. Here we go. Check this out. Oh, I love these. Show no fear. Aliens target people who appear terrified and actively try to avoid capture.
Okay. Nobody wants to be abducted. Does that mean that they're gonna be like, oh, that person's living in a state of fear. I'm gonna go grab them to make them even more fearful of the situation. So if I lie to myself and tell myself I'm not scared of alien abduction, but I'm scared shitless, I'm more of a target. Is that what that means?
Well, it's interesting to show no fear, and not only does it mean that, but there was a study from a scientist lady in Stanford, and so she stress is actually good for us. It's how we perceive stress. It's what's bad for us. So because in the study she came up with 2 different types of stress factors, 2 control groups, and she told and this was a big study with good money. So she told the one group how bad the stress was going to be, how difficult it was, and what it's going to hurt them, and what it's going to do to them, and and so on and so on. So a huge negative perception of the stress. They experienced the stress. After the stress changed, they took blood draws before and after too. It changed their body. Their thought process through it all was horrific. The other group, they took blood tests on both sides. They told them that the stress was going to make them better. It was going to make them be able to be more confident. It was going to make them to be able to handle things better in their life if they experienced the stress. Guess what happened?
They actually supercharged their
body. Their mind and their body improved.
Well, what does it tell you has to happen first? Mind, then body, then spirit. Just like just like the Raw Collective had talked about. So your fear is just your perception of some sort of stressor that comes from a fundamental untruth. It's illogic, which you would be living in. How do you actively try to avoid capture? Do I live under a rock? Do I wear a tinfoil hat? Do I put cinder blocks on my feet so the anti-grav can't pick me up? I'm extra heavy.
Tinfoil hat?
Yeah, what do I do? How do I actively try to avoid capture? Do I always have a spotlight on me? Am I always pointing the spotlight in the sky so that I'm well lit? What do I have to do? This last one is the most outlandish, outrageous, and comical of them all.
Make yourself difficult to probe.
What do I do? Do I wear...
What are you, in prison?
Yeah, do I wear plate armor, over my whole body? Do I wear, some sort of chastity belt? They said aliens obviously want to perform experiments on their... What do you mean, obviously? Where are you getting this information?
That's such a bad statement.
Yeah. So abductees who actively thwart these attempts may be more hassle than they are worth. Oh my!
I want to ask somebody. The closest thing that we have to alien communication to humans, and we can get into discussions on this, but I'm going to say this right now, is channeling. Mm-hmm. We know that this is a fact, whether it's from the Orion Group or whether it's not, or wherever it's from. We do know that there are some with channeling. There is some entity that's not from here that's speaking to these people in their channeling words. When you read all of the channeling material that's out there, all of it, what is every single one trying to do?
It's trying to help you.
Help humanity. Yeah. Every single one talks about love.
All of them. Even if the ones that are like seem a little outlandish and inaccurate, still talking about love all the time.
Yeah. So what is this obviously?
Yeah. Where are they getting this information from? Why would you give people dog shit infographics with bad data telling them that aliens are an absolute threat? This looks like Ronald Reagan produced this. The threat
This is propaganda,
will come
World War II propaganda.
from space, from outer stars, and our future wars will be fought in space. Like, that's what this shit is. I don't understand why people perpetuate this model. This is like borderline QAnon group. Like, this is like their gold standard.
Yes, that's what it is. Well, look how narcissistic the next statement is. Read the next one.
So abductees who actively thwart these attempts may be more hassle than they are worth. What do you mean? You're telling me all human beings have different perceived value? If you're all beings of creation, exactly. This whole thing is completely whacked out and inaccurate. Oh, so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have...
Hopefully they'll get my neighbor. I'm doing certain things, so hopefully they'll get Jim.
Listen, they're going to get Jim. Jason, why would anyone want to probe that body of yours? You're doing everything right. You're doing everything right.
Hey, I'm kind of lonely sometimes. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind a little bit of six-finger action.
Whoa, Doc, that's cold. That's my wristwatch. Oh my God.
But I mean, just to close it out, and like what I was saying before, there are negative entity species, but the negative entity service to self that Ra talks about, it's still not a form of violence towards humans.
No, it's a thought process. So if you are taking negative actions through your own line of cause and effect, they will help exacerbate the energies that will be very unsettling catalysts for you, ones that you would perceive as very negative in your life. But they're not directly coming down just like beating you to a pulp with instruments, right? And leaving your body just totally empty and you're like not cognizant.
Yeah, they still respect free will.
They have to.
To a certain extent, yeah.
They have to, right?
Especially if they're evolved. If you're fourth, fifth, sixth entity, you're going to respect free will.
They have to. How do you think you got up there? You can still choose to do whatever the heck you want, but if that's the existence you want to live, have at it. So when you read the very first line of this report, doubters and skeptics of the community take heed based on the highly scientific study. Nothing about this thing is highly scientific. Nothing about this is accurate, and everything about it instills fear. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.